Coming to you from Dover, Ohio and Summerville, South Carolina. Two cities with absolutely nothing in common until now. This is Make Photography Great Again, a weekly podcast of commentary on the photographic industry. And now, here are your hosts, master photographers Christine Walsh-Newton and Ted Linsack.
Well, here we are. Christine, you're back.
I'm back.
How you doing? You alive?
I am alive.
Are you just alive, or are you happily alive? What state of aliveness are you? The world wants to know.
I'm in a state of maybe vaguely tired alive. How's that?
Vaguely tired. I don't accept that. What can possibly have made you vaguely tired in the last 7 days?
In the last 7 days?
Well, 7 days. Well, let's narrow it down to 3 days.
Let's see. I laid probably 300 square foot of flooring in the last 3 days. How's that?
300 square foot of flooring. That's pretty unbelievable. Where did that happen?
At my house.
Is that your new luxury condo that you bought down in Miami, or?
No, the kitchen and the hallway.
Oh, we're keeping that quiet. Sorry.
Yeah, I made it with all the profits from this podcast.
Wow, I wish I had a button that I can hit with sound effects. I need to work on that. I would love like a cymbal crash or a little. That would be great.
But bump.
Actually, we should look into that. That could be the next level. For this podcast. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was gonna ask. So you laid the flooring. You didn't. I had to shoot two weddings, roughly 10-hour wedding days. So not to brag or anything like that, but that was a little tiring. That was a little tiring as well, but I survived. I'm here.
Survivor. Hashtag survivor.
It's all, yeah. And I, of course, I was the illustrious jury chair at a print comp today. Of course, South Carolina had a quarterly print comp, so I don't want to brag about that either, but which essentially, I think I told you this, but a jury chair, there's not much to it. I don't know. That sounds bad, but it's kind of just, it's a formality, It's kind of like the Queen of England. What does the Queen of England do? Absolutely nothing. It's not even the Queen of England, because she probably does more. I'm trying to think, what would be I don't even know. It's like you're a vice president. Maybe that. It's like completely pointless, if one of the jurors drops dead while this is happening, I guess I can fill in, then I'm important. But other than that.
Okay.
Maybe I went a little too far with that. Yeah. Okay. This is the thing that's been in the news that I got to bring up. I don't know if it's in the news, but have you heard of the male romper?
Oh,
have you seen that at all?
Dear Lord. Yes, I was just it was on Sunday. There was some morning show on this morning, and it had a little blurb on it, and I did see it on TV one day last week as well. They're horrid.
Yeah, the male romper. I don't know. Who comes up with this stuff? I mean, is there actually guys out there that are wearing that? I mean, that's what I want to know. I mean, it's a funny story. We can all laugh, but is someone actually going out there and buying this thing and wearing it?
I can't imagine. I think they've all have received them as complimentary gifts if they wear them. I don't know. I saw pictures. There were pictures of men in what do they call these things?
Is it just a male romper? I don't know. Is there a name for it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's like a special hipster name for it.
Oh my!
But they were all in pastels, and there was one with a polka dot. He looked like a Wonder Bread wrapper, actually.
Oh my goodness! I can tell you right now, in South Carolina, there is absolutely no men that would ever wear this in this state. I can tell. Even if it came in camo, it still is not happening. I mean, it's just not. I don't know. Maybe somewhere else, but it's not happening here. What is this world coming to, honestly? I mean, I'm a male romper.
I'm not sure. I'm actually looking to see if romp him. That's what they're called.
Romp him. Is that the actual name of it, or is that a brand, or is there multiple brands of male rompers? God, please tell me no. Please tell me there isn't multiple brands of male rompers.
Well, there's currently a Kickstarter. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, are you serious? A Kickstarter?
Yeah, there's a Kickstarter.
Oh, what's okay? Oh man, you bring this up. What's the deal with Kickstarter? Okay, I think there are great things that. Well, okay, I guess I'm thinking not so much of Kickstarter. I'm thinking of GoFundMe, right? Because there's Kickstarter is kind of like your. Is it just for businesses or? Can anyone do that, or is it like you're trying to launch a product and that's what that's for?
Well, it's for
and GoFundMe is kind of anyone can do that, or what?
Anybody can do either one, but Kickstarter has to be for some sort of project that needs financial backing, and if you don't get the right kind of backing, then the project doesn't go through. I know a friend of mine, she had a small project for writing a book. I think it was just like $1,000 she was looking for, but,
Yeah.
GoFundMe is just the public begging kind of thing,
You can buy, that's what you mentioned Kickstarter, and I thought GoFundMe is what came in my mind. But yeah, I think there's probably great things that people use that for. Like there's legit reasons, and I can see that. I'm not sure. Maybe it was like something I saw on Missing Whack or something like that. How many times do you see people trying to? And it's not only photography, but using that as like. Hey, I'm trying to start a business, so I'm just asking for money. Like just an open-ended thing like that. Didn't it used to be you are trying to start a business, so you save up and you do these different things and you try to make it on your own. And now it seems like people use that as, hey, I'm trying to start a business, so can you just give me money? Or, hey, I'm looking to get this new lens and stuff. I mean, I see that all the time, people using GoFundMe. I mean, shouldn't that be for something catastrophic happens and we're trying to raise money for somebody? I can see that. That makes sense, but... I mean, our grandparents didn't do that, right? Or, I mean, like you look at generations from 40 or 50 years ago, I mean, the concept of, hey, I'm trying to start a business, so can y'all just give me money? I don't get that idea.
No, way back then, and I mean, even when we were starting businesses, that's when you sucked it up and you worked 2 jobs and you cut your expenses and you put back every single penny that you could so that someday you could do the American dream and open your own business. Now it's the instant gratification thing, but I have seen requests for money so that people can buy a lens, and that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think, I'm not sure. I see a lot of that. I see a lot of it. It's in the context of photography, but I think it's probably happening in a lot of other businesses. That's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of silly. Though the more I think about it, I mean, I've wanted that 200 mil f2 for so long. I mean, it's like $5,600. So maybe I should just start a Kickstarter. Or maybe if I did something like, hey, if I wear a male romper, will you give $200 to this fund? I mean, maybe we can tie those together.
If you wear a male romper, I will give you $200.
Will you? Are you okay? I'm going to hold you to this. What are the stipulations? I have to wear one and like take a picture of me in one, or you're going to regret that you ever said this.
And put it on social media. You wear a male romper. You have to prove it. You have to prove it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I could just Photoshop it. I'm a master Photoshopper. I can never do that, but $200, man, that's. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that. Maybe there's a stylish male romper out there.
And you have to wear the one that makes you look like a Wonder Bread wrapper.
I'm going to have to look. I don't know. I saw this story, and honestly, I don't even think I clicked on it. I mean, I saw a little description, and I read. And my joy of seeing these stories on Facebook and places like that is just reading the comments of what people say about this stuff. You don't even really need to read the story.
Most
just
people
look at what people are
don't
saying.
read the stories. They do just comment on the title, so you're right with them.
Yeah. That actually is probably a big problem in our society, right? I mean, people should probably be reading stuff and not just the comments.
Pretty
much. My goodness. How things have changed, right? I mean, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, male rompers.
Yeah, women used to be the ones that wore rompers, but ladies, don't worry, because I was at the store last week and I saw that the jumpsuit has made a return.
The jumpsuit?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, serious as a heart attack. The jumpsuit is now on your local store rack.
It all comes full circle though, right? Things go out and they come back, and
that's what I hear.
Isn't that how it works?
I didn't like it the first time. I'm certainly not wearing it the second time.
I gotta be honest, I did not know what a romper was at all in any context until I saw this male romper thing. I mean, I guess maybe I heard someone say it at some point, but it wasn't until I saw that story that I even knew what it was at all. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's an embarrassing thing. I guess I shouldn't know, right? I guess if I knew, that would be more of a problem, right?
If you knew what it was, you would also know that a romper is like the worst invention ever for having to go to the bathroom.
Really? Oh, so you basically have to, George Costanza style, you have to take everything. Yep. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say, have you seen that episode where I think George gets into this thing where he takes his shirt off when he goes to the bathroom to be more comfortable? And then, so, do you remember that episode, or have you seen it? Do you watch Seinfeld? I forgot. You know what? Oh my! So George, I forgot what happens. For some reason, he decides to take his shirt off when he goes to the bathroom because he's more comfortable. I think like Kramer told him or something. So he gets into this pattern of doing it all the time, and then he goes to this party with I don't know, it's some social event, some party where a bunch of people in someone's house, and so he goes to the bathroom and he's doing what he does, and he takes his shirt off and he forgets to put his shirt back on. So he's done and he walks out of the bathroom, and everyone's mingling and stuff, and he doesn't have his shirt on, and he doesn't realize it for like 20 seconds until he's out there and he realizes he forgot to put his shirt on.
Awesome.
It was very funny, of course. Yeah, you seem not at all enthused. I was going for that laugh line, and it fell flat.
Well, I guess you had to watch
Help me out here.
But anyway, yes, you have to take the entire thing off in order to use the facilities. So
it's like a wedding dress.
Right. And
it's
imagine,
like
imagine a man having to do that. I mean, at least we women get the convenience and privacy of a stall. Can you imagine having to strip down out of your man suit in front of a urinal?
That might be embarrassing. It really might.
Just a little bit.
Oh my goodness, how things have changed. So, speaking of how things have changed, talk about iconic photos, iconic images in the course of like the last 100 years or 80 years or whatever. My question is it possible for these kinds of iconic images to still happen? I don't know. With the advent of social media and we've touched on this here or there, but everyone's a photographer, and in the news sense, like when things are breaking and we've talked about these viral videos and all this kind of stuff. Everyone can kind of take a video, take a photo. Is it still possible for actual paid photographers that work in the news business, the few that are left? I mean, is it possible for images like that to still happen? I mean, I guess that's a dumb question. I guess they probably can, obviously, but it just seems like it's been diluted a little bit from what it was when it used to be. A handful of guys that work for the papers. They were taking these amazing images, and that's what kind of shaped the story. And now you kind of have everyone that can do this, and sometimes it doesn't matter how good it is or how great it's composed or the impact that it has, but it's more about which photo do you see first from an event. That's really all that matters now, is how quick you see something.
Sometimes,
what do you think?
And I would say some of the images that wind up, going viral, getting carried, etc., might not be from a paid photographer. It could just be from the random Joe out on the street that was at the right place at the right time. I think that iconic photographs are still possible, but I think in order to really stand out from all the other photographs out there that we are being inundated with, they have to be over and above what the past iconic photographs were.
So the pressure is up.
I'd say.
For getting something absolutely incredible.
I'd say.
See, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I guess I see your point, but I guess where I was going with it is that everyone is so, I don't know, we've mentioned this so many times, but you see photos everywhere, and I feel we're so numb to what actually is great and what's not. We talk about that in the context of portraits and weddings and whatever, as a professional photographer in that realm. But even in the news world and news photos, I feel that same thing holds true. I feel people are so unimpressed with things. Even when they're good, they don't realize they're good, right? We've heard that a million times. But I think that's true. Personally, I think that's still true in the news world. I think people are not as, a Pulitzer Prize winning photo from 20 years ago, the impact that could have versus now. I almost feel like the genre of photography is just, I don't know, it just seems like it's losing power. The more photos we're inundated with every day, the less powerful photos are in general.
Well,
I don't know. Do you agree with that assessment? Or
that's pretty much what I just got done saying.
but I said it totally different, though. I said it a completely different way.
In TEDese. You were talking about recent history, and I specifically was looking up some recent historical iconic photographs. And one that stands out just in the last year for me was the one of that little boy that was drowned on the Syrian refugee, little toddler boy that drowned on the shore. That is something that sticks out for me out of all of that news photography, and there's quite a bit of that out there. So I think I think the powerful images will still stand out, but they have to try harder to stand out just because there's so much competition now.
Yeah, and that you talk about that image. It's been, was that last year or the year before that? I remember when that image was going around. It got around. It caused a lot of discussions about that whole crisis and all that.
This past September.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It wasn't that long ago. Yeah, I still think the power's still there. It's one of the greatest books I've had. I have a few of them, and the only reason I'm into this is Scott. I don't know if we talked about Scott, my friend Scott Shaw. He Scott. Well, we're gonna try to have him on and do an interview at some point because he's seen a lot of cool stuff. But he won a Pulitzer Prize years ago, and of course he's super humble about it. But when I met him, I saw they put out a book, I think every year, and they basically put all the Pulitzer Prize winning images, and then each year I believe they update it and they put the latest one. But I have a couple of those, and man, talk about an incredible thing to just look at, going back decades and being able to see these images again. Pretty much everyone, when you look at that book, probably everyone has seen those images at some point or another, but being able to actually read, they kind of have a blurb about each image and a little backstory. But it's amazing when you can kind of see what led up to that photo and hear the story. You see the image and you form your own story, but it's amazing how there's different sides to it when you actually hear about it. I think one of the more iconic images from, it's already 40, 50 years, something like that. I think everyone's seen that image from the Vietnam War that Eddie Adams took of the Viet Cong prisoner being executed. Probably one of the most iconic images of all time. I believe it won a Pulitzer, but talk about an image and the power of images that they have to alter a nation's mindset on the war. The Vietnam War, obviously, we're so far removed from it now, but well, you don't. I don't put you on the spot. I obviously don't remember it because I wasn't born, and you weren't born either, right? Is that the right thing I'm supposed to say?
Oh dear Lord, we are going to have a chat when we are done.
Let's just gloss over that. So it's been so long ago, but I think at one point even I think it was maybe was it Nixon at the time or Johnson? So someone's I think it was Nixon was really worried about the impact that single image had on pretty much the mindset of the typical American at the time and their view on the war. But when you read about that image and you actually go back and kind of read the context of it, because you see it and it's it's a very powerful image. And when you look at it at first glance, it kind of, you see the Viet Cong soldier, and literally it is I believe it's the moment that the guy's actually getting executed. I think if you look close, you actually see the bullet coming out of his head, actually. I think that's what it is, if I remember correctly. But you read about the story, it was like, you look at that and you feel, wow, this is horrible. This guy's getting killed, and it's this horrible thing. But you read about the story, they actually captured, that guy was part of the resistance, I believe. And I think it was the day before, that morning, he had led a raid where they had executed, they went into a village and executed a whole bunch of people, women, children, the whole deal. And they caught that guy and basically they let him down. And later that day, the general, I'm going to look it up here. A cool site to check out if you guys have not checked it out. And we'll probably link this. Love this site, rarehistoricalphotos.com. Really, really cool site. Rarehistoricalphotos.com. They have a ton of these iconic images and they have backstories on them. But basically, that image has such a bad connotation when you look at it on its own. But when you read the story and read what that guy did, obviously you can have your viewpoint here or there, but it's just interesting to hear the whole story. And that general in the photo, the guy who's actually executing the prisoner that they caught, his life was basically ruined. The guy actually ended up, I believe, immigrating to the United States and something random, I think he started had a pizza parlor or something like that. But he was basically haunted with that his whole life, up until he died. And I think Eddie Adams even at the time said, he took that photo, and at the time, really 2 people got killed. It was the prisoner that was executed, and it was the general. And I forgot his name, and we'll bring it up. I should know these things, right? I should have the name so I can say it. But
I have it in front of me, but
that never happens.
I could never pronounce this at all.
You can never. Yeah.
First name is
Mr. Smith.
N-G-U-Y-E-N. What? Nugent?
Nugent or Nugent? Yeah.
The last name is Loan, L-O-A-N.
Yeah, the guy, but Eddie Adams said, that it was this guy who got killed, and also the general, kind of referring to the fact that his life was basically a living hell up until the day he died. I think he immigrated here. I think he changed his name and all that, but you can read stories about this. People found out who he was. I think they ransacked his pizza establishment or his restaurant or whatever, and the guy lived with this his whole life. But when you hear the whole story, there's a whole other side to it. Again, you can still have your viewpoint, this or that, but the image is incredible in the fact that you can capture this intimate moment, this one moment in history, but it's not until sometimes you hear the story that it can take a whole new life. I mean, would you say that's true? Or
yeah, I totally think that's true. There's always another facet behind a photograph. Rarely is a photograph exactly what we think it is.
I mean, that's the one that sticks out. So I always remember that story. Just that's one of the first images that I looked and kind of read all about it, and it was just amazing to hear that whole story. There was a really cool article, and we'll probably try to link this too. One of my favorite pieces, the most fascinating. It's actually an interview, but of Thomas Franklin. So if you guys don't know who Thomas Franklin is, you have definitely seen. If you've been born in the last what is it? Oh my God, I'm getting so old. Born in the last 20 years. Okay, you've seen his image. He took a ton of images on 9/11. Okay, of course we remember 9/11. But Thomas Franklin actually took probably the most iconic image of that whole series of events or that day, and it was the firefighters actually raising the flag at Ground Zero. That's Thomas Franklin's image. There is a fascinating article, and this is already 7 or 8 years ago that he did this interview, and we'll definitely link this. The image, or the site, I believe, is called The Image Deconstructed, I believe, and they do interviews with various photographers about that have taken iconic images, and they kind of interview them all about what they were going through on that day and all that. But this is like 7 or 8 years ago that he did this interview, but really fascinating because he talks about the entire day. And if you actually go to the link, I said we'll put it on the site, you can actually see screen caps of a lot of the images he captured that day. And that very sequence, he talks about it in detail where basically as everything was unfolding, I believe he worked for a local, I think the Bergen County Record, I believe was the paper. It was a local paper there. I mean, he was a few miles from downtown New York there, and when all that was unfolding, he ended up packing everything. Remember, this is 2001, obviously, right? Digital, just getting there, but not totally mainstream, so we're still kind of in that in-between period. And all that was going down. Obviously, he rushed to Ground Zero. He got there towards the end of the day, but it was a process for him to get there, and he talks about how originally he staked out a certain spot where he was across the river and he was doing photos, and he talks about the chaos, and I think at one point I believe he had digital bodies at the time. I don't know the exactly what he was shooting with. I think it was some sort of Canon, one of their first digital SLRs, but he mentions at one point before he actually got across the river that he got to a point where they were kind of trying to shove reporters out of the way and all this, and at some point he actually got knocked to the ground and one of his cameras got destroyed and the card got destroyed, and I think he said he lost like 1,000 images or something like that off that camera that couldn't be recovered. So I mean, you just think of that alone, like what could have been on there, and then at some point I believe he got hooked up with someone. He had a colleague that knew one of the people in the police department, and they ferried them over right to Ground Zero, and obviously he did a ton of photos, and that iconic photo, I think, didn't happen until 4:30 or 5 o'clock where he got to that scene, and he describes the fact that at that point, 2001 again, he was, the compact flash cards and all that technology, you're talking low memory capacity cards, and he mentions only having like another 40 or 50 frames, and the other incredible thing he talks about, at times, towards the end of the day, he was actually going through and trying to delete photos to make more room, because he didn't... You think of that today, and it's hilarious, because, I mean, we shoot, even for weddings, you shoot 8 and 16, and some people shoot 32 gig cards, and he was actually deleting images to be able to have enough, to be able to keep doing photos. And he got to that time, it was like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and he saw that scene unfolding. I think he said he had about 40 frames left on his card, the only card he had left. And it's really cool, guys. If you go on the site, you can actually see his sequence of about 20 shots leading up to that moment and then right after. And at the time, you think about such an iconic photo. Everyone's seen it, and it got run on a million newspapers, and it's been on a stamp, and it's been everywhere. I mean, definitely one of the most iconic images of the last 20 years, if not ever. I mean, I would definitely lump it into that category. But he talks about just being there and seeing that unfold, and he even mentions, after he took it, he actually thought, like, yeah, it was a good shot, but he didn't really think that it would have as much power as it ended up having. He actually thought he probably took some more better photos throughout the day, and I think the story goes when he got back and he started uploading images and stuff, and they saw that one, and obviously the rest is history, right? I think they said something like the next day they had to bring in like an additional 40 or 50 people into the office to just handle the calls they were getting for people to use this images and licensing and all that kind of stuff. It ran obviously in papers all across the world. So I love those kinds of stories, again, because we see the image. You see the image, and it could be the most powerful image ever, but man, when you actually dissect it, and see what goes into it, it almost takes on its whole new life. I love stories like that, so we'll definitely link that. And obviously, that image, you think of Iwo Jima, and you think of that's kind of it's one of those images almost that's too good, and it's such a horrible event that it was. It's incredible that things like that happen naturally. It's that man, someone just staked that view out, and that. I don't know, moments are amazing. Moments are amazing in the world of like weddings, especially. And I don't know, you tell me if you feel this way in portraits, but with weddings, so much of what we do is photojournalistically natured, but a lot of it is, we're doing these beautiful post portraits and stuff like that. And when I see people that can capture these moments and see these moments and anticipate them, whether it's weddings or these kinds of events, man, I think that's a skill all its own. I wish, and I'll be the first one to say, I would never consider myself a photojournalist. I go way more on the portrait refined type thing. But man, when it comes to finding these moments, I think that skill is like at the very top of the photographic pyramid, or whatever you want to call it. Do you agree? Do you think that's true, or what?
I totally agree with you, and I come from a little bit of a photojournalistic background. I've got about 6 years of newspaper work under my belt, and it's difficult. It's difficult to be in the right place at the right time with the right equipment and the right angle and everything being right. You have absolutely no control over anything, and you just hope that you have your camera pointed in the right direction when things start to happen.
Absolutely. That's tough. That's the thing. And, you think about a wedding, and people always say, oh, weddings are so tough to photograph because things are fleeting. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But just, can you imagine being, in a war area, war-torn area, and or I don't know, just some sort of current event that's happening, and it's a matter of seconds, and you have to be there, and, you're trying to capture the very best image that you can and capture this decisive moment. And I just feel like the pressure is like 40-fold, that of a wedding. I mean, not to discount weddings, but I don't know, man. I love in the morning, when I remember, I usually try to go to the AP Wire site. There's a site where pretty much all the AP photographers, all the images from the day, they update it each day, and you can kind of see, you can search by American things or American politics or world news or the environment or whatever, and you can see all the latest photos from the AP Wire. Man, I love doing that. I love checking that out in the morning, because talk about inspiration. You see not only people capturing those moments, but you still see lighting, and you still see composition, and all these things that we talk about all the time. It's incredible for someone to be in the moment, and there are seconds happening between the decisive moment and it's over. They're capturing the moment, plus the lighting and everything, they're at the right angle, and there's so much that goes into it. I mean, I feel a lot of those guys are almost superhuman that do that every day.
It takes some mad skills for sure.
Mad skills. Oh my goodness. Another article I saw was kind of cool. You talk about iconic photos. I saw this a few months ago, and then I just kind of researching a little bit of this, I came up with it again. I think this is from CNN. They put out a 25 of the most iconic photographs, or what they call the 25 most iconic photographs. This is from back in September, so it's slightly dated, but I mean, let's be honest, how many iconic photographs were taken in the last 8 months, Probably not a ton. Some of these that are on here, probably the most popular one, these aren't rated, I think, in order, but they just kind of have them out there. you have the kiss in Times Square after the war. You've definitely seen that photo, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, probably almost to a detriment that you talk about with weddings and portraits. You know how people sometimes want to do things and they almost want to be a bit too cheesy with things sometimes. Of course, no one ever does that, but occasionally in the universe it could happen. And as great as that photo is, I feel it has led itself to a lot of people wanting to do something cheesy in that realm. I don't know. Would you agree? Did anyone ask you? Let me ask you this. Has anyone ever asked you to do anything that is just over the top, just kind of like, let's focus on something real rather than trying to recreate something and make it cheesy? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes. But I want to backtrack. I can't believe you asked.
You want to? Okay.
You asked me if I'm familiar with this kiss in Times Square photo. It happens to be the photo on the cover of the book that I wrote.
Really? Are you serious?
Well,
as
like my super like good friend, you should have known that. I thought
I should. I'm still waiting for that signed copy. I think I asked for it and never came.
Okay, so back to let's recreate. I have this awesome story. Actually, it's a terrible story. I used to do, I still do, model headshots, entertainment industry headshots, actors, etc. And had the mother of a client hire me for a studio session. And when she got here, she wanted me to recreate the Miley Cyrus.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, my goodness. Excuse me. Okay, I don't care where the rest of the story goes, but the fact that it involves Miley Cyrus and recreating something, I know it's going to be amazing. I just had to put that out there. Okay, continue.
Do you remember when Annie Leibovitz did a session with Miley Cyrus and it was like...
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Okay. Well, the mom asked me to recreate that. However, the girl in question was only 8 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And Mom and I had a very lengthy discussion about the definition of child pornography. And I refused to do the photographs. And she said, well, fine, I'll just go find someone else who will do them. And I thought, awesome. Apparently, they won't mind being sued. I don't know.
Oh, my. What makes this even better is I can see you. I can see you there having that discussion. I can just see your demeanor and everything. I can just picture it. That makes the story even better.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. My eyes hurt from rolling them.
And here's the thing. I get it. A lot, when people want to recreate something and dare I say the Pinterest word and all that, a lot of people just don't know. They don't do photography. They're not photographed, and I don't know. They come into it just kind of blissfully ignorant, and I can accept that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes people are just so obsessed with copying something rather than just letting it happen in the moment. I guess portraits are a little bit different because, I don't know, different in the sense that you have the time to be able to like fully create something and you don't have time constraints. I mean, you may have a little bit of a time constraint, but I feel sometimes with weddings, you have someone, they give you a Pinterest list or whatever, and here's 5 photos that we want to do, and one of them is, at Maui, on the beach, and a gorgeous sunset, and the palm leaves are over them, and they're getting married in, I don't know, in Cleveland in January, and they're like, we just, we know it's not the beach, but we like the feeling of it. It's like, how in the world could we ever recreate something like that? Those are the things that I'm kind of like, guys, come on, we can't, let's let your wedding be something completely unique and original. And, and the line we always use now is, let us create something different that someone else will want to copy. Rather than us trying to duplicate something, let's create something amazing that people will want for themselves. That's the goal that we have. But, you spend too much time trying to recreate stuff. You lose the magic of what could happen, and with a wedding especially, there's so many factors, and if you're just handed like a list of stuff, then that's all you're thinking about all day is like, oh my God, I got to make sure I copy all this stuff rather than letting things unfold, right?
Right.
At least that's my take on it.
Yeah, I hear you.
I can see you wholeheartedly agree. Some of the other photos on here, this one doesn't get shown a lot. I always thought I guess this was a photo. I always thought this was like a screen grab from an actual video feed, but the Chinese protester standing in front of the tank, right? You've seen that photo. Everyone's seen that photo.
Right.
I think that won a Pulitzer too, but let's see. I was alive at that point, but I think I was 5 or 6.
Oh dear.
And
he did. It's not a Pulitzer, but he did win the World Press Photo Award for that week. It was a Newsweek photographer.
Got it. That's on par. For those that don't know, it's on par with like a Wedding Wire award. It's slightly higher, just slightly. Joe, that offended somebody, but I'm just kidding. I'm kind of kidding. Of course, Joe Rosenthal's photo at Iwo Jima. We talked about the 9/11 photo. And if I remember, I'm trying to remember here. I got this up here and I'm looking at it. There was some debate if that actually happened or if it was staged. I'm not sure if that's ever been determined. If that was him reading this here, do you recall any of that? Them saying that wasn't actually happening in the heat of battle. That they went back later and actually did that photo.
Oh, the Iwo Jima one?
Yeah, the Iwo Jima photo, yeah.
I'm thinking that it was restaged. There was some malfunction with the camera and the guy didn't get it in time. There was some weirdness. Maybe it wasn't restaged, but I remember some backstory. Not exactly.
And talk about that. The other photo, very randomly, I don't think it's on this list, but I honestly don't know who took it off the top of my head, but all the guys eating lunch, I think in the 20s or the 30s, up on the New York skyscraper sitting on the beam.
Oh, yeah.
And they're eating lunch. Like, everyone's seen that, right? I read something about that, and I actually think that there was a movie or a special or something that came out about that photo was completely staged. And there was, not that it matters, but there was some debate. Everyone, I guess, thought that was an actual moment that someone grabbed, and then I read later that it was someone said it was some sort of ploy, I think, by the company that was building that building to stage that all and make the photo for publicity. Again, I don't know if it really matters. It's a cool photo, but there was something like that. I forgot who took that, but yeah. Of course, the Eddie Adams photo that I just talked about, super, super iconic. A lot of other cool ones on here. I mean, I won't go through all of them, but maybe we'll link this too. We're going to link like 30 million things in this blog post, but I love this kind of stuff. You know, I love it just, and you tell me if you agree or not, but you do portraits, you do weddings, that's kind of like your world, right? And then looking at a lot of these, again, these news type photos, whether they're super iconic, like a lot of these Pulitzer winning images, or just the daily kind of stuff that comes out of really talented news photojournalists, it's just like almost another world. You know, it's almost refreshing to see that and come away from the beautifully backlit bride. You know, it's like nice to get away from that for a moment. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way. You're leaving me out to dry.
Dangling right there in the wind. No,
that hurt. I was scared there. I got worried for a second.
I thought you were not quite done with your sentence, and I was giving you some space. Yeah. Sorry.
Wait, do I have to edit that space out, or will we leave it as like a dramatic pause?
We'll call it a brain fart.
Yeah. Oh, wait, can we say that word online? I'm not sure.
Oh dear Lord! Really?
Keep it clean.
I'm keeping it clean. I'm keeping it clean. You know, I agree with you. It does seem like it's just a whole different world, and those photographers are just completely different people than me. And I think sometimes of how lucky I have it in my very controlled little environment with my 5 lights and light meter and all that good stuff. I'm a little bit protected from all this stuff out there.
It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world out there. At least that's what I hear. Well, goodness gracious. I feel like we'll probably continue this a bit maybe next week, but I think we'll maybe end it there. Definitely check out these links, guys. We were going to post them on the blog. I'm telling you, the Thomas Franklin interview, it's worth 5 minutes of your time to read that whole thing. Again, most of us lived through that period. And it's interesting to think, going back to 9/11, you think of, again, 2001, an odd time, right? Because we're not fully into the world of cell phones. You know, smartphones were not even around. I don't think, when did the iPhone get invented? It was years past that. It was like 2006 or 7 or something like that. And as much as that, you know, those things were not there yet, you still have that event. It's probably the most covered. I mean, now maybe some things have surpassed, but in terms of magnitude of an event like that, you have so many photos and so many videos at that time. I always think if that happened 6 or 7 years later, how much more there would be. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's incredible that there's so many things, even though we weren't in that cusp of social media at the time. I mean, Facebook wasn't even invented yet. If I remember, I think Facebook was 2004, 2003. That's just an interesting thought. What would happen if something of that scale happened? I mean, I guess we see that every day with things that are happening, but I don't know. It's just an observation.
Yeah, think of how much video. Think of all the FaceTime lives and Periscope videos that would have existed where maybe there's only one or two really good photographs right now.
Well, and it's interesting, I don't know if this really would have helped, but something I saw just on that realm before we wrap up, really interesting movie. So, the Boston Marathon bombing that happened, there was a movie that came out I think last year. I just saw it just recently. I think it's called Patriots Day. Really interesting. It focuses on pretty much the manhunt for these guys. It was his two younger brothers or whatever, if I remember correctly, and one died and they caught one, and I think he's been sentenced to death or something like that. But it follows what happened, the hunt for them after the bombing happened. And a big part of that was them reaching out to the public and getting just inundated with photos that people took. They basically asked the public, hey, if you have any kind of photos or anything like that to help us. And then what they also did is they culminated all these images and they put them all in a massive database, and then they made that available online and said, hey, here's a database, here's all the photos. They basically enlisted the public to help go through these photos and see if anyone noticed anything. I mean, and that was already a few years ago. That was, 3-4 years ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing how technology in that way could help. Just the fact that everyone was taking photos, you had so many more photos, and really because of that, that's how they were able to pinpoint these guys. In a handful of photos, they were able to determine exactly who it was. And, if that happened 15 years ago, 15 years prior to that, they may have still caught them, but I'm saying the technology helps so much. Images, the fact that we have a ton of images, we complain about that a lot, but in that situation, it could help immensely. I'm just saying if 9/11 happened 10 years later, how many more images would you have? I don't know if that would help anything at the time to capture the people that were responsible and all that, but it's amazing how images can help that way, how technology, even though we complain a lot about that, it's a good thing occasionally, right?
Absolutely.
You agree again, I can tell.
I agree again. I strongly agree.
Wholeheartedly. Strongly
agree.
And passionately is the word you want to use, yeah. So guys, check out the links. We'll post this stuff again. The Thomas Franklin interview, check it out. It's fascinating. We'll post probably a link to the rarehistoricalphotosite.com if you've not checked that out. That is one of those things that you can get on that site at like 11 a.m. and then it's 3 p.m. and you realize you've done nothing all day. There's a lot of interesting stuff on there. So, of course, I've never done that ever in my life, so I wouldn't have any experience with that. Of course, if you guys want to listen to past episodes or re-listen to this episode or share it with anybody, we are on the iTunes store, okay? So search for Make Photography Great Again podcast. You will find us on there. Of course, the website, which is what, Christine? What is the website?
Make Photography Great Again podcast.com.
Boom. Make Photography Great Again podcast.com. Check that out. All the episodes are on there, too. Of course, we will put a new blog post, which we do for every episode. We'll link all the stuff that we're talking about, and you can check it out on there. Other than that, guys, if you ever want to send us suggestions for topics or anything like that, any feedback, good and bad, well, we really just want the good, but we'll take the bad, I guess. We'll make Christine read the bad, of course. Send those emails to us. And you can do that through the website as well, I think. Right, Christine? There's a contact form, I believe.
Yeah, in the right-hand little thing there. What do they call those? A sidebar. There is a little contact form.
Boom. The right-hand thing.
Did you just learn the word boom or something?
Boom. Oh, yes. Oh, boy. Let's leave that one alone. I love it. Okay, that's my new term. Okay? Okie dokie. We better stop because we're getting in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's going to be it for now, guys. Check all that stuff out. Check the website out. Check us out on iTunes, and we'll catch you all next week. See ya.
Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Make Photography Great Again with Christine Walsh-Newton and Ted Linzak. Come back next Tuesday for a brand new episode. For more information and access to the podcast archive, please visit our website, makephotography great again podcast.com.